You might notice a strange smell like rotten eggs coming from your exhaust, or maybe your idle feels just a little bit rougher than it did last week. But the real red flag is when that orange engine light pops up and stays on. When you pull the codes and see P0143, your car is telling you that oxygen sensor circuit number 3 on bank 1 is reading a voltage that is way too low. Now, to understand this, you have to picture your exhaust system as a long laboratory. Sensor 1 is the upstream guy who manages your fuel mixture, but sensor 3 is a downstream sentry whose primary job is to watch over the catalytic converter and make sure it is actually scrubbing those toxic emissions like it should. This is a 4-wire sensor that relies on a steady 0.5 volt reference from the computer, along with its own internal heater to get up to operating temperature quickly. A healthy downstream sensor should show a very steady voltage, usually around 0.45 volts, reflecting the clean air coming out of a working catalyst. When the PCM sees a signal lower than 156 millivolts for more than 28 seconds, it knows something is wrong and sets this code. While a downstream sensor usually will not kill your performance like an upstream one, it is still a serious issue because it means your car is no longer effectively monitoring its own pollution. The number one thing you need to check first is not the sensor, but actually your exhaust pipes. Even a tiny pinhole leak in the manifold or the piping before the sensor will suck in fresh air and trick that sensor into sending a low voltage signal to the computer. Get under the car and listen for any ticking or hissing sounds while the engine is running. If the exhaust is sealed tight, then you need to look at the wiring harness. These wires are exposed to extreme heat and road debris, and it is incredibly common for a wire to melt against a hot pipe or for a connector to get packed with mud and moisture. Unplug the sensor and check for full battery voltage and a solid ground for the heater circuit first. If that looks good, use a jumper wire to supply a chassis ground to the computer side of the sensor plug and watch your scanner. If the reading jumps to about 0.5 volts, then you have confirmed that your wiring and computer are fine and the sensor itself has simply died or become contaminated with fuel or coolant. Replacing a fouled sensor is a straightforward job, but always make sure you handle those new sensors with care and avoid getting any grease on the sensing tip to ensure it gives you accurate readings for years to come.